Hello, my name is Mike Emo, and today we're going to talk about WebStorm. So I've been a .NET developer for many, many years, and started doing some Angular development about a year ago or so. And everybody I'm talking to that's doing Angular development, they're not using Visual Studio. They're using other IDEs. WebStorm by Jet Brains is a very, very popular one. So there's a tiny bit of learning curve. It wasn't, rocket science or anything, but I thought I would just take a moment and put together this quick little video, introduction to WebStorm. In addition, we're going to do a little bit of Jasmine and some Karma. A little introduction to Jasmine and Karma, getting that up and running. So if you come over here to WebStorm, you can go out to JetBrains and download WebStorm. You got a free 30-day trial for Windows, so I'd highly recommend checking that out. If you're going to be using WebStorm, install Node. Install Node.js, get that up and running. If you're going to be using Karma, you're going to need Node. And if you're doing any Node development, WebStorm is a great IDE for that as well. In addition to Node, if you're new to Node, go ahead and take the time to go out to nodeschool.io, and they've got some tutorials that are worth checking out. So check that out. And yeah, why don't we go ahead and get started? So I'm going to bring up WebStorm. I've installed WebStorm. I've also got Node.js installed on here as well. And so I'm going to come over here to WebStorm. I'm going to create a brand new project. I'm going to call this demo 2. And this is just going to be an empty project for now. Say OK. And we'll open it up in this window. And you'll notice here that we've got a root folder. And that's all we have so far. Now, I'm going to come in here and right away, right off the bat, I'm going to create a couple of directories. I'm going to create one for views. I'm going to create another one for scripts. And we'll stick our JavaScript in here. We'll stick our views in here. Now, if our views, we come in here and we say new HTML file, we'll call this default HTML. And here we're just going to say hi world. We're pretty informal here, Minneapolis. So we're just going to do the old hi world. Save that. And let's go ahead and run that. And we'll see the results. And so you see we're running on localhost. Hello world, hi world. All right, so you can do your HTML development here in WebStorm. But what I really want to talk about is the JavaScript. Again, WebStorm is a great IDE for doing Angular, and so we're going to take a quick look at using WebStorm for JavaScript. Now, one of the things that I noticed when I was working with WebStorm, coming from Visual Studio, I was looking for an add existing file. Okay, so I want to add some existing files, some existing Jasmine files into this project, but there is no add existing file. So if you want to add an existing file, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add another directory called tests. If you want to add an existing file, you're going to go into Windows Explorer, find the files you want to add, copy them, and find the directory that this project is associated with, and paste them in there, and they'll show up in the IDE. Okay. So we've got this folder tests here. I want to copy these two folders, the live folder and the spec runner for Jasmine, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But in order to do that, now if I drag these files over here to test, it's going to want to move them. It's actually going to remove them from the source directory and actually move them over physically to this new folder. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to move them because it's going to delete them, or it's going to literally move them. I just want to copy them. So I'm going to right click on here and say copy, and then over here and back in the WebStorm IDE, I'll right click and I will say paste. Where are we? Paste. And we see here we are. Okay, so if I right click on spec runner, let's just verify the spec runner is going to up and run. And here we are. Jasmine, there's no specs found. Here we go. So what am I doing? What is this all about? Well, so you saw me create this folder, scripts, tests. I needed to get the Jasmine library in there. And if you go out to GitHub .com/Jasmine/Jasmine. This is the repository for Jasmine. You can read the instructions on how to install Jasmine, how to clone it down onto your system, and then the files that you're going to need to run Jasmine in the manner that I'm about to demonstrate is you're going to need to get the live folder and the spec runner.html and drag that into your project. So that's what I've done here. So I've got my live and I've got my spec runner. Now here's the thing about the spec runner. If you go into this HTML file and you look here in this scripts, you'll see it's pulling in these various files. Well, we don't have any of these files. This is demo to help you get up and running. So we're just gonna delete those, okay? And what I want to do is I actually want to write some specs. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna say add a new JavaScript file, and I'm gonna call this. We're gonna do a calculator example. So we're gonna say calculator underscore spec.js. Okay, and in here we're going to say describe given a calculator okay, all right, so given a calculator, describe when adding numbers function. Okay, so now we've described our given. We're going to do the given, when, then format. So I've described my given a calculator. We could also do another one down here. Describe when subtracting numbers function. Okay, so you see how we're kind of grouping our describes to show the given, when. Okay, so now we need to get into the then. So the then is where you use the Jasmine it function. So you got it. So given a calculator, when adding numbers, we're going to just say just 5. Then current should be 5 function. Okay. So what is this? What are we doing here? Yeesh. There. All right. So describe given a calculator when adding numbers just 5, then current balance should be 5. So if we come in here and we say var calc equals new calculator, calc dot add 5. Expect calc.current to be 5. Okay, so this is our spec, and we're using Jasmine. This is the Jasmine syntax for writing a spec. So we're going to go ahead and save this. Control F, and if we go back in the spec runner, first thing we need to do is say what spec files it should pull in. So we're going to say we want you to pull in script source equals calculator spec.js. All right, let's save this. Let's run it, and we should get some errors. Haha! Given a calculator when adding numbers just 5, then current should be 5. And right now we're getting a reference error. There is no calculators defined at all. So let's go back here and define a calculator. Let's go up here to our scripts, and we'll say new JavaScript file. We'll call this calculator.js. Let's just start with that for now. So now we have to come back here to our spec runner, and we have to tell it what source files it needs to reference. So go ahead and pull in the script source equals calculator.js. Save that. So now we should be getting a different error. Aha! Undefined is not a function. Okay, so it found our calculator, but it doesn't have any methods. So calling that add method, it's undefined. So if we come back to our calculator and let's go ahead and add this method. Let's call it value to add. And what we're going to do, just to get this test to pass, if we're doing pure TDD, this is kind of hokey, but we're just going to say return value to add. Actually, that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to leave that like that. We're going to say self.current equals 5. This will get our test to pass. Okay? And if you're doing pure TDD, they say just write just enough code to get your test to pass. Here our test is passed, but it's not really, right? I mean, it's passing, but once we come in and we add another test to this code, we're going to see when adding numbers, it be 25 function. Okay. Now here's what I want to do. I don't want to keep newing up this new calculator. So, you know, because these are all functions, it describes a function, its function, you know, we can use closures, right? So we can come up here and I can say var calc equals null, and I can say for each function calc equals new calculator. So now when I come in here, I got a new calculator. I can say just add 5, expect current to equal 5. I can come into this here. I can say add 10 calc.add 15, and now we should be 25. So we know this test is going to fail, don't we? Right? So if we come over here, run this again, we see that I have 2 specs, and one of them is failing. Given a calculator, when adding numbers 10 and 15, then current should be 25. Well, it's not. So now we need to go refactor our code to make both of these tests pass. And here I'm actually going to say current equals 0 and equals value to add. Save that. Now notice what I've got to do here. Notice every time I want to run these tests, I have to manually run them. I have to kick them off manually. I either have to go over here to my spec runner and run it, or I got to bring it up here in the browser and run it. And so now I see both my tests now pass. Let's run them all. There we go. 2 specs ran, none failed. So great. So given a calculator, when adding numbers, just 5, then current should be 5. 10 and 15, the current should be 25. Then we got when subtracting numbers. I haven't written any tests for that, but I think you get the point. So this is getting Jasmine up and running sort of the manual way. Okay, I want to do another example where we're actually going to use Karma. So we're going to go ahead and use that now. Karma is basically a continuous testing tool, and I'll give you a demonstration of that right now. So we're going to do a new project. We'll call it Karma Demo. And we're going to open it up in this window. So one of the things you'll notice here is down here in the bottom left, you have this little button here to bring up this various windows. So we're going to bring up the terminal. Now you can also get to the terminal by going to View, Tool Windows, and you have the terminal. You got Event Log. You got all these other various windows up here that you can show. So we're in the terminal, and we're going to use the Node Package Manager. Now, think of, for you .NET developers, you can think of the Node Package Manager as kind of the NuGet package manager. We want to pull in Karma. We want to pull in a reference to Karma. So one of the things I want to point out here is notice how there are no subfolders here in my Karma demo. So when I come in here to the Node Package Manager, I'm going to type npm for Node Package Manager. Install Karma. Now if I put /G in here, it'll do it globally. So you can think of that as being analogous to putting something in the GAC in the .NET world. Here, I'm not going to do that just for this demo. I'm just going to install Karma locally into this project, just a local reference. And so you can see it's downloading it, it's getting all the modules, all of the files it's needed. Takes a moment. Now if we come back up here and look at this, the solution, we see, now we've got a subfolder. We've got this node modules. And one of the things I put in here was this Karma folder. The other thing that we're going to need is because I want to use Jasmine. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to say node package manager install Karma /Jasmine. So now we've got, if you look here, you'll see not only do we have Karma installed, now we've got Jasmine installed. So these were the this was the library that we put into our other solution, our first demo, and then we also have this Karma Jasmine module as well. So I'm not going to make you watch me type in that calculator example again. So I just went over here to my demo 2, my scripts, tests, calculator, and I just went ahead and copied those into my project here. So I've got my calculator. Here's our calculator right where we left off, and then I've got my tests. I've got this calculator spec right where we left off. Okay. So where are we now? We've got our tests in here. We've got a spec. We've got 2 tests. We've got node module set up here. We used the node package manager to install Karma and Karma-Jasmine. And so what we need to do to proceed is we need to configure Jasmine. The Karma team has this nifty little console wizard that we're gonna execute here. We're gonna say Karma init, and it's gonna start out by asking which testing framework do you want to use. So init, which testing framework do you want to use? Right off, the default is Jasmine. We can tab or arrow through and see the various options. So we got Jasmine, Mocha, QUnit. We're going to stick with Jasmine. Hit enter. Do you want to use Require.js? No, I do not want to use Require.js. Do you want to capture any browsers automatically? We're going to stick with Chrome, the default. You can add other ones here, so you can say Chrome plus Firefox, so you can do multiple ones. If you leave it empty, it moves on to the next question. What is the location of your source test files? Now, this is one you got to pay attention to, okay? Because it wants to know what files am I going to be testing. It needs to know the actual source files first, and then the spec files. So we're going to say we want you to pull in any file that is what is it? It is scripts test star spec.js. Okay, so it found it. All right, so now it's going to pull in our source file and our test file. Should any of these files include previous patterns? Nope, we don't want to exclude anything. Do you want Karma to watch all the files and run tests on change? So you can change this to no. I'm going to keep it yes. By keeping this to yes, as I'm developing, these tests are going to execute. That's what I want to demonstrate here. So we're going to go with yes. So we're set up. Now we just got to run Karma. So we say Karma start. And you see it launches. It's going to launch my browser. I'm just going to minimize the browser because I'm not really interested in it. And we see that, let's see, executed 2 of 2 successful. Okay. So now if we come back in here to our tests, and let's do a subtraction. So when subtracting numbers, it 5 from 0, then current should be -5. Function calc dot subtract 5. Expect Okay, so here's the code. Now, as soon as I save this, I'm going to do Control S to save it, and we're going to see, bam, right off the bat. Give a calculator, let's get that right. Given a calculator, when subtracting numbers 5 from 0, the current should be -5. Failed. Undefined, not a function. Well, we've seen that before, haven't we? And again. Okay, now look at that. 3 of 3 passed. So now we're using Karma. If we look here at this Karma config, you can right-click on this if you do want to run this. So you say, well, what if you don't run Karma to automatically? You know, what if you said no to that? How are you going to run this? Well, in that case, then you go up to the config file and you right-click on it and you say run the config file, and it will bring up the browser and run everything. And it'll tell you down here, look at, here's our test results. Given a calculator, when adding numbers, those all passed. You can open them just 5. So you can go through and you can describe these, and there you go. So this concludes my presentation. I hope you .NET developers coming over to WebStorm for the first time find this useful. Thank you.